We are live.
Apparently I've been in the middle of a Facebook hack.
Oh, you didn't know? Oh, really?
Because all these people are sending me things saying, you didn't really invite me, that shit.
I didn't get anything, so I'm lucky.
Well, because it has to be someone you want to be your friend.
Oh, you bastard.
How about that?
The things you say are hurtful.
Why don't you suspend me for 2 weeks?
2 weeks. Can't they do the Fox thing where they just put her on vacation and she never comes back?
Let's make sure that we're there. I think we're good. Yeah, we're there.
All right.
We're rocking. Let me close my little thing. Okay. Oh, shit, yes. My hair's a mess. As if it would ever not be.
Yeah, right.
It's the Brad and Britt cast. It's the Brad and Jane 37th anniversary edition. Very excited about that. 37 years ago. Yeah, I put this picture up of myself with my wife on that day. And you can look at the picture on my Facebook, but it looks like I haven't shaved for about 36 hours. All right.
What was going on there?
It looks like I was dragged in
at gunpoint
from the gutter, from the Bowery of New York City. We got married in New York. What the hell was that? What was going on? Wait, so I mentioned that to James. He says, "Well, that's not the only thing." He says, "You told me on that day that you screwed up washing your hair, that you used the conditioner instead of the shampoo." I said, "Well, that's not the last time that's ever happened to me."
Yeah. How have you survived?
Yeah.
1985, Brad. Ronald Reagan was reinaugurated in January for his second term. The Chicago Bears defeated the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Royals were your world champions, defeating the St. Louis Cardinals in the World Series, Brad. It was quite a year.
Britt, it's funny you should bring that up, because I was actually thinking that the real reason to get married was because Morning in America had made things so wonderful that it just seemed like a great time to get married and start a family. No, here, I don't know if you do this, but I do it. I do these mathematical calculations relating where I am on the spectrum of my life, the continuum of my life compared to my parents. And it just occurred to me, 1985, I get married, and that is 37 years ago. Mm-hmm. My parents at that time were in their 37th year of marriage also. Right. So it's half to half to half. They got married in 48. We got married in 85. That's 37 years later. 37 years later, here we are. And you know what? It means absolutely nothing. But I'm just trying to think, well, my parents were that way when I got married, and then 30, it doesn't mean anything, but I do that. I got to stop. I have to stop.
It's hard to relate any of that stuff that was going on. Let's take a look at this story, which I got pissed off about yesterday. This is the Market Watch version, and I especially like the way that they wrote the headline. With chicken wing prices rising as much as 26%, will Super Bowl parties still be happening? I swear to God, and you won't believe this because no one will, I didn't capture it for posterity. When I was watching our local NBC affiliate, they put on their graphic on the 11 o'clock news last night that the Super Bowl was this Sunday. I swear that happened, but they're stupid and they don't know what's going on. So, Brad, your Super Bowl party, which is in fact on the Super Bowl itself, February the 13th, you're calling it off because there's no chicken wings. We won't be able to find them. We can't get them. We can't stuff our faces with them. So what's the point of even showing up and seeing each other?
May I just say something? Can I? And for folks watching, they'll know what I'm doing. For you, if you're just listening, I'm going to put my finger on the side of my mouth and pull. You got reeled in to a story, and your react. It's not a story. It's just not a story, because the second part of it, will Super Bowl party? Of course, it is. The question was last year with COVID, with people being contagious. That was a real question, and you know what? A lot of people did cancel them, like we did. So,
Yes.
but and food prices, yes, I understand they're up, but I'm here to tell you, and maybe you can beat me up if you want to. If you are a savvy shopper, if you have, how shall I say it, any brains, you can go to a grocery store right now and you can find different things to buy in the same neighborhood, same category, same type,
Not the same.
that have not exploded in price the way the headlines look. 57% more for steak. Oh, fuck, I can't eat steak. And of course, when you go to the store and you see there's a special every fucking week. It really is. You can, if you pay any bit of attention to what's going on, you can still live. And I guarantee you, you will be able to, for instance, with the story running right now about chicken, if you went right now, still 10 days out from the, I guarantee you could go somewhere and find plenty of chicken wings if that's your thing. Now, I don't want to attack the American people. The American people are suffering under the crushing inflation that we haven't seen in 40 years. Or as, who was the senator, the fuckface moron senator that says, we've never seen inflation like this ever in my lifetime. There was some Republican that did that the other day, and he got fact-checked by our friend Andrew Broad, who, of course, is 1,000% right. Because, yes, inflation running at an annual rate right now of about 7%. It's been higher twice in the last 45 years. Twice. Once during in Nixon's administration, and then during Carter's administration. It was higher than that. So, and I know it's high. I'm not disregarding it. But if you're going to fucking lose your mind over this and not think that there might be some temporary ways around it, you're stupid, and fuck you, cancel your Super Bowl party. You know,
well,
because
at least you didn't take the bait. To me, and I don't even play this card, but this reeks of somebody of a media elitism. Oh, Buffy, do a story about how they're canceling the parties in Jeffersonville, Indiana, because they don't have any wings. I mean, that's what this fucking sounds like. This sounds like somebody, this is how we're going to relate to middle America. And you guys fucking blow that shit.
No,
that's what it sounds like to me.
I don't think so. I think it's very simple. I think that they got the statistic from the National Chicken Board or whoever does this counting.
Yeah, but to go
this is the price. And what you can't put a headline up there, chicken price is 26% higher. You can't do that. So you frame it in something like this, and you get two morons like us to sit here and talk about it and pretend that we're above talking about it because we think we are, but we're not. And they got us. They got us. Why don't we just admit they got us to talk about it?
I would like for some media outlet to find one person who canceled a Super Bowl party because they couldn't get chicken wings. I would like for that to happen. On that same note, by the way, have you seen the Hormel chili cheese keg? Since we're going to go ahead and just take a bite on everything. That looks disgusting to me, and I'll eat anything. But that Hormel chili cheese keg is the nastiest shit I've ever seen in my life. They've got the Hormel people, of course, who make chili, among 50 million other things, have this contest where you can win a keg of chili and cheese mixed together, and you just pump the fucker and put it on your nachos or your wife's ass, or you can put it on whatever you want to put it on. And they think, oh, this is the greatest thing. And now, of course, we're talking about it, so it's going to help them out. It looks nasty.
All right, I'm looking at the timer up in the corner. We're approaching 10 minutes on talking about this. I want to get the last word in. Sure. This is as stupid. The idea that you'd not have a Super Bowl gathering because the price of chicken wings, which you're too lazy to shop for at some other place besides the highest price place in town. This is as stupid as the price of gas is 30% higher this year. No one is going to travel anywhere. Right. And then when you do
Not
Right.
going on
Then
a
when you do
beach.
the calculations, well, I'm going to use 30 gallons of gas driving back, 400 miles, 30 gallons, that's another $9. I'm canceling. I'm
It's
out.
over. It's
This is
over,
just
honey.
as stupid. It's
Thanks a
just
lot.
as stupid.
Thanks a lot, Brandon. I'm going to tell the kids. Joe Biden
All right, 10
canceled your
minutes. We're done.
vacation.
We're done. We're out. We're out. All right.
Joe Biden canceled your vacation, kids. He's the reason you can't go to the beach. I hope you're happy. Well, we waited 9 minutes to talk about the huge story, which is there has been matriculation on the Whoopi Goldberg front. They have suspended Whoopi. Is this a 2-week period, Brad, that the ABC is now saying she can't go to work because of her comment saying that the Holocaust was not about race?
All right. First of all, you and I have worked for a variety of bosses over the years. Stupid ones.
Call them assholes. We work for a variety of assholes over the years.
Bad judgment ones, things of that sort. And we have said things. You have said things. I've said things. We've said things together that have gotten us in the hot seat. They've even gotten, in your case, you fired. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
right.
This is not to justify you ever being fired for something that you said, but I'll bet you there was never a consideration to, quote, suspend you for 2 weeks, because suspension is fake. Suspension is totally fake. You either stand behind the person who said what they said, especially if they show sincerity in their apology and they don't give if anyone was offended kind of apology, a fake apology. You either do that or you fire them, because there can't be, what is this, 2 weeks I want you to go home and think about what you did. I want you to write an essay. I want you to take some courses, take some of those masterclass courses. The head Jew of Jerusalem probably has a master class now. Take one from him. He'll tell you about the Holocaust.
I'm sorry, who is the head Jew these days? Is that an elected or an appointed position?
I just don't know. I just don't know. In the case of Whoopi Goldberg, they should have either fired her or let her go on. She came on the next day. She went crawling to Stephen Colbert the first night. She said she was wrong.
I thought the discussion on Colbert,
and by the way,
I thought this discussion on Colbert was completely reasonable, and she did take responsibility, and she said it. It's different than a lot of guys.
I think if you frame it in the larger context of what's going on in America, what's been going on in the world, particularly in America, not just the last few years, but now for a couple of decades, as the Holocaust recedes more into history, as fewer and fewer actual survivors are still alive to be able to tell their story. Now you've got the next generation, the children who are still around, my wife being one of them,
right?
To pass on the reality of it, that someone like my wife has no aunts, no uncles,
right?
Never had any grandparents, none of that. Well, why is that? Did they just not want to ever talk? No, because they were all killed. They were all killed. And in one way, Whoopi Goldberg did us a favor, because she expressed the ignorance of people who by now would be so removed from the reality that they would say, it wasn't about race. Okay. It was just some white people who had an argument. And you white people, you fight amongst yourselves. See, that was the worst part of what she said. It wasn't the first part of her statement. It was that second part when she said, well, you white people fight amongst yourselves. And if she has no concept that it isn't a question of what you look like, your skin color, it was that the Nazis categorized Jews as a different and inferior racial group. And obviously, we're not a racial group like Africans are, or Indians are, or the Chinese are. There's a wider variety of what Jews look like than any of those groups that you could imagine. And by the way, that's almost with every ethnic group now, every
That's
race,
correct.
because of the intermarriage and the rest. But to think that now, to even go there, that even in a stand-up routine, maybe you could get away with it if you were a great comedian. You had that shtick of, yeah, it was just a bunch of white people fighting with each other. Yeah. No, that wouldn't work either. That would not work. Michael Richards, he wouldn't do it either. Couldn't get away with it. So she illustrated her complete ignorance of the subject, and the answer is she shouldn't have the job in the first place. Okay, it should be, if you're going to fire, you say, you know what, we made a mistake in hiring someone this stupid. And it doesn't matter that you go, well, I've been with Jews all my life. Some of my best friends are Jews. There's no print of anti-Semitism in my life, blah, 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 blah. So, by the way, sound familiar? Sound like anybody else in a prominent position who seems to have been able to get away with relationships and appeals to anti-Semitic people, and then says, well, but my daughter married a Jew. We're talking about Trump, of course. I'm not anti-Semitic, and I think on a scale, Trump is 10 times worse than Whoopi Goldberg. But I think, let me think. ABC, they did what management does. They wiggled out of it, and the 2-week suspension buys them whatever kind of plausible deniability the next time a right winger does something stupid. However, they're going to be held to that standard, because believe me, a right winger on ABC will soon enough say something way worse than that. And then if they fire that person, they'll say, but you only suspended Whoopi Goldberg for 2 weeks. But then I can argue it the other way. How come a liberal always takes the fall worse? If you believe that she should not have been suspended at all, she apologized. It should have been accepted. Were Jews around the world swooning in offense at that line? No, we were just shaking our head with the blind stupidity of it. And are we worried that that's going to educate a bunch of neo-Nazis in training? Oh, I heard Whoopi Goldberg say it. It must be true.
It's not outrageous.
No. But you do set yourself up for that next incident, which will happen. They should have stood behind her, or they should have cut ties with her. And one more thing, and then I'll throw it over to you. That show, which every time we talk about it, I always say, who the fuck still watches that? And I guess the answer is a hell of a lot of people. It still does well. And considering it's on network TV in that 11 o'clock in the morning time slot, and has been for 25 years now, they must be doing something right. So I'll put aside that snark. It's like the Supreme Court now. You've got a Jewish seat, you've got a black seat, right? You've got a conservative seat.
Right.
Okay, there aren't 9, there's only 5. So every time somebody leaves that show, they can only be replaced by someone with either the identical ideology or the identical ethnic identity. Isn't that unbelievable?
Well, again, we want it to look like America, allegedly, and I do share your concerns about the usefulness of that show outliving whatever it is now. That's a kind of a side issue when you put that over here. But yes, the usefulness of that show. But again, the Disney company and all their wisdom makes money off of it. So who am I? Who am I to say one way or the other? Demographically, they must be hitting some marks. I do think it was an ignorant remark. I think she admitted it was an ignorant remark. And I also think it is a teachable moment. In fact, you would be able to say something about this in schools if teachers were able to do anything controversial that didn't make white people look bad or feel guilty. So yes, you would be able to somehow. I think that there are many Americans who share her ignorant view, and we can have a discussion and tell them why history is not correct about that. But we're too busy, of course, laughing and pointing because she's some liberal icon. You've got your picture of Whoopi Goldberg up over the bed, right? And you touch it and worship it every day like a good liberal should. That's what you do, isn't it?
Next.
I mean, it's beyond doubt. I find her apology to be sincere. I'm with you. I think the 2-week vacation, we were talking beforehand, On Fox, when somebody get in trouble, they would always it would just happen. It would coincide with them going on vacation. And then Fox would wait for whatever to blow out, and then they would come back, and then everything would be okay. I think it's silly for them to make this huge a deal about it. And I would like to contrast what she did in terms of her apology, because I thought she handled it perfectly, and she still got fucked, with Joe Rogan's apology, who handled it pretty well considering his sophistication with the media. And now he's still going to get all of the money. He's still going to be able to have Jordan Peterson on talking about how transgender people are satanic or whatever. But there's going to be like a warning label apparently on your phone or your iPad or whatever you're doing that shows you this is kind of spicy. Joe Rogan, as it turns out, won that round, Brad, with a somewhat, and I thought the apology that he gave when he gave it on Instagram was very savvy. I don't know if it's sincere. I don't know if it's genuine at all. But I thought it was crafted in such a way where you would go, that works. And it gave his parent company enough space to go, look, we were reactive to your concerns. Look how great we are. That's what I think happened with the Joe Rogan thing. And somehow he's okay. He skates. Whoopi Goldberg gets suspended for 2 weeks.
Well, do we know if she's getting paid? Is this a paid suspension? Because by the way, that's a big deal.
Well,
that would be a big deal. If they would have said she's being docked her pay, at least you could at least slightly start to go, okay, maybe they're a little bit more serious than not serious at all or fake serious. But you don't hear that. So I assume she's still getting paid, because if she was not getting paid, they'd say it. If you don't say whether you're vaccinated or not, that means you're vaccinated if you're on Fox News. If you're out in the real world, if you won't say it, it means you're not vaccinated. Okay.
I'm sure that she has, a team of lawyers and agents and stuff. And if they even tried not to pay her, they would breach and, they'd be sued to the very depths of it. I'm sure that that's taking place. But then again, the other step of this is, the money I would have received for working, I'll donate it to the Holocaust Museum or the, anti-defense, whatever. One of those situations, and then you can continue to keep on going down the rabbit hole on this particular story.
Oh, God, you just fucking hit on something so great. Whoopi, this is your chance. Okay, here it is. You need to have a contest. And to all the people who are watching the show, or maybe who aren't watching the show, because this could get some big promotion. This would work. If you've got a kid who's about to be bar or bat mitzvahed, okay, they're 11 or 12. We're coming up on 13. It's about to happen. We're going to have a contest, and Whoopi will come to and entertain. She'll sing. She'll tell jokes. She'll be Whoopi Goldberg. She'll perform some of the great scenes from some of the great movies that she's been in. How many Oscars does she have? One or two?
She's an EGOT. She has won an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. Okay. She's in that very rarefied air.
She will come perform at a bar or bat mitzvah as a mitzvah.
Yeah.
What do you think? I love it.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of 30-year-olds that have no idea who the fuck Whoopi Goldberg is, let alone 12 or 13-year-olds. So I don't know if that's going to
Doesn't matter. That's not important. The grandparents are watching. Let's say they have an older demographic. The grandparents are watching. Grandpa, grandma, get to it. Work it. Now, the problem is, and of course, I can say this because we're on a podcast. About half the Jews there will think that she's one of the people who was waiting on tables, and they'll ask her would you please bring me more butter? You see what I did there? You see what I did?
The thing about her, and she didn't play this card, is look, she would say, look, the Jews in show business, they changed their name to more anglicized names. I did the opposite. I went from Karen Johnson to Whoopi Goldberg. Look at me. I'm embracing the chosen people.
That's right. That's why I said on the last podcast, her punishment, she has to give up the name Goldberg. She has to now fight to keep it. Okay. She has to fight to keep it. And here's how she will do it. And how about this? And if the bar bat mitzvah thing you think doesn't work demographically, how about weddings? She'll do weddings.
That's a good one. This is a story that no one cares about. So, of course, that's what I specialize in. There's Jeff Zucker resigning as the top of CNN. After he's collateral damage in this whole Chris Cuomo thing. Apparently some of the discovery in that case revealed that he had a relationship, consensual, with somebody he worked with. He didn't disclose it. So this is what gets rid of Jeff Zucker, who has been like a virus throughout American broadcasting. I know I would like to think that Conan O'Brien is celebrating today. He's not, because he's a much better person than I am. This is the guy that was responsible for the entire Conan O'Brien debacle when he was at NBC. So Jeff Zucker is now gone from CNN. Again, a story that no one cares about. Get us back on track with a story, Brad, that someone does care about on the Brad and Britt cast. Do you have a list? You're still muted. There you go.
And by the way, I had such a great headline to get us into the Whoopi Goldberg. I was going to say, now I can't even read my own writing, so I won't try.
You were so close.
Well, the first two words were making Whoopi, but I can't get past what I wrote after that.
Making
That's sad.
You know, there's
oh, wait, I got it. Ready. I got it. Making Whoopi ride the suspension pines.
Making Whoopi ride the suspension pines.
Suspension pines. Yeah. Okay. All right. Here we go. Here's my other. The usual Rock and Roll Hall of Fame bullshit.
Oh boy.
Putting on the Zelensky, or, well, we're back to the same topic. Cable news ratings. News ratings.
Well, let's do the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because we always end up chasing that one all the way down. It's very interesting. And, well, again, speaking of institutions that may have outlived their usefulness.
Oh, God, shut it down. All right. Here you go. First-time nominees this year for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Dolly Parton, Eminem, Lionel Richie, Duran, and A Tribe Called Quest. I have all their albums.
Yeah, they're good.
Among the first-year nominees, 17 artists are being considered, including Rage Against the Machine, Pat Benatar, Dionne Warwick, Carly Simon, Judas Priest, and Beck. Now, this is what. Now, there are all kinds of kind of qualifications that they lay out there that you have to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I think the one that most people know is it has to be 25 years since your first record. Now, it says here, this is Associated Press. This is not. It says Beck and Carly Simon are in their first year of eligibility. Now, how is that? Carly Simon's first album was over 50 years ago. It was in 1971, sure. Self-titled, called Carly Simon. You remember the song? That's the way I've always heard it should be. How is this her first year of eligibility? Her first year of eligibility was 25 years ago, which would be 10 years after the 12 years plus that you would add to get to my 37th wedding anniversary. Okay, I mean, it's just nuts. She's been eligible all this time, and I repeat, as always, how the fuck is Dolly Parton eligible? Tell me that she's got some kind of rock credibility here. Go ahead. I'm sure there's an explanation. And the fucking Guess Who can't get arrested. They can't even cross the bridge from Windsor to Detroit to get to Cleveland or New York or wherever the hell they're going to hold it. I don't get it. Explain it to me.
I don't know. If you start opening the door for Dolly Parton and some of these country guys, and I think it's Buck Owens and George Jones, and they're, Katie bar the door. But I love Dolly Parton. I don't get it. How long do you think it's going to be before segregation is demanded? Now, I think it's kind of good that they have Tribe Called Quest and a lot of Eminem and some of these hip hop acts. How long do you think it is before hip hop demands their own Hall of Fame? They should have their own Hall of Fame and have folks there.
They don't have to, Britt. They've already infected the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Excuse my words here.
Happy Black History Month, everybody.
Right. Suspend me for 2 weeks for that.
I would think that they would. I would think that some of the hip hop community, if I may, when I use the pronoun they, I'm not talking about skin color. The hip hop community, I would think that they would, somebody who's a big player in that deal, Russell Simmons or Jay-Z or somebody would go, we're going to build it here, this, and then they're going to do it, and then it'll be a huge boondoggle just like this. It'll be a big, huge.
In all seriousness, that would be really bad.
You think so?
That would be, yes, that would be terrible.
But Brad, don't you want to see the debate? Don't you want to see the debate over whether Vanilla Ice belongs in the Hip Hop Hall of Fame? Don't you want to see that debate as people wring their hands and go nuts over Vanilla Ice, who had, I believe Vanilla Ice had the very first #1 hip hop album to go to #1 on the Billboard albums chart. I think
Oh,
that
so,
is
wait,
so
wait, wait,
true.
wait, Britt. So he's the Bill Haley.
Yes,
He's the Bill Haley of hip hop, right?
that's
The,
exactly.
the first white guy to break through.
It's hilarious. Well, I mean, it's hilarious. It's also like just because it illustrates the racism of all of these great black artists over the years coming up, and here's fucking Bill Haley, who's a two-hit wonder. He's the guy that supposedly starts the rock and roll era. Same thing with Vanilla Ice. All of these wonderful hip hop guys in the '80s, they're doing all this great stuff, and then this is the motherfucker that hits #1 on the album chart and explodes hip hop to the masses. Right? There's
Isn't he
some sort of
a?
symmetry.
Isn't he like a real estate guy these days? Isn't that what he
He's
became?
allegedly he's either a fake or a real estate guy because he's got one of those reality shows on HGTV where he flips houses and rips down walls and puts in new bathtubs and shit like that. Yeah, that's what he's gone through. I'm not saying anything about Robbie, the guy. Robbie went through being an asshole when he was in his 20s and getting fucked over by the industry because of his own stupid behavior, and then he came out the other side a little more humble, and he's made somewhat of a comeback to the aging Generation X folks like myself. But yeah, I as far as this particular, it's going to be like this every year, as you know, and as you pointed out, they're going to come out with because you're getting into this. What was this? 1997, I guess, the 25-year mark. Here, this is going to be Oasis, Bush. We're getting like bands like that are going to be up for some sort of induction.
And you know what? You just acknowledge it, and
You move on.
And it's fine. I'm okay with watching the Beatles from 55 years ago for 8 hours on Netflix. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. And everybody, you know what? Everybody gets their own music, and I totally respect that. It just doesn't mean I have to join in. Every person under the age of 35 can think they're going to get rich in cryptocurrencies. Not my bag.
Now
Not going to happen.
By the way, that was the good Bill Maher rant from the weekend. Was him laughing in the face of all these assholes that have lost money on crypto. That was the good. Bill, yes, you're so right. I did enjoy that one. But as far as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we're getting into the boy band era. We're getting into the NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, all because Justin Timberlake. I think the NSYNC thing, because that's going to be tough because they want Justin Timberlake in. They definitely want him in at some point. Do you have to put his stupid ass band in, or can you put him in as a solo artist? If you put him in as a solo artist, does this kind of not acknowledge the fact that he was in something before he was a solo artist? So again, prepare to just get way more frustrated as the years go on. There's going to be plenty of old man shaking your fist on the lawn material in the coming years from Jan Winter's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Well, ain't nothing we can do about it, but I do think some of the left behinds, including the guests who then they finally got around to Todd Rundgren last year.
Finally,
that was about a 40-year oversight.
But you also do have to understand, it kind of lost in all of the stuff with when John Madden died right after Christmas. He retires in 1979. When does he go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
I would think 5 years later, like you're supposed to.
It was like this century. I think it was 2006 before he actually made it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It was 20 some odd ballots after he was eligible, before he makes it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So don't get me started on Kenny Stabler. I'll go another 10 minutes and bore the shit out of other people. Go ahead. What's the rest of the stuff on your list?
Well, there's Putin on the Zelensky, which I was going to try to do Putin on the Ritz something, but I couldn't come up with a word, so I just went with Zelensky.
Yeah.
So, we're at a moment here that could turn out to not be a big deal, or it could turn out to be a big deal, not unlike after 9/11, when it was decided that we would go to war. This is obviously not a decision to go to war. Putin is trying to spin this to the world that this is all on us. It's the perfect outgrowth of him having way too close of a relationship, he thought, with Trump, that would buy him some ability to just keep lying to the world in any sphere that he wants. Hey, look what Trump did. I can do it. Not that Putin wasn't a liar before Trump came along, but this is just complete gaslighting. I mean, when you put 100 10, 100, whatever, 100 and some thousand troops on a border, and then blame the other guy for moving some troops into the area on defense, and you say, you guys want war, don't you? You want war. And of course, they put them there first. Then you have to suspend your belief in reality. And then you have to start listening to the pro-Russian, pro-Putin side that does exist in America. It doesn't matter what war we ever think about, whatever foreign policy. There are always people that are willing to, quote, take the other side and see it from the other way. And sometimes they turn out to be right. Like, now you have to acknowledge that. Invading Iraq was a shitty idea. It just was. And much of the country was behind it.
Yep.
I probably was behind it. I don't remember. I was drunk that year.
I'm pretty sure you were, and I'm pretty sure I was. So I can't say shit about it.
But in this particular case, this is not Joe Biden preparing for war. And at least at this moment, this snapshot in time, so far, it's not working for Putin, because Putin's goal was to divide all the allies. Because I bring back Trump's name, because remember, one of Trump's first utterances as president, maybe even said it as a candidate in 2016, which was just so stupid. He was ready to pull the United States out of NATO. NATO is obsolete. The Cold War is over. What the fuck? Why would we ever come to the aid of France or Romania or Germany or Greece or the other countries that are in NATO? They can defend themselves, and we spend way too much money on it. We're out. NATO is an obsolete concept. Fuck NATO. Well, he was stopped from doing that. He was prevented from going any further than just mouthing off. But you know who heard him? Putin. Putin heard him. And Putin, I'm sure, was in full agreement with that. Absolutely. Yes, the Cold War is over. You fucked up our country. You got us to fall. You took all this country. We owned Estonia. We owned Latvia. We owned all these. What did you do? You took them from the Ukraine. They were all us. All right. So here we are a couple of years later, and Putin is operating as if NATO is obsolete and really doesn't exist anymore. You know what he did? He brought everybody closer together right now. So far, Joe Biden, think what you want, he's got everybody on the same side against the Russians here. The only country that's not is China, and they were not in NATO. They weren't part of this. So this could inadvertently, there's so many moving parts, could move China and Russia closer together, which, by the way, would actually take us back to about 1965, when it was called for a long time the Indochina War.
Wow!
Remember that phrase? What did that mean? That didn't just mean Vietnam versus the United States. Mm-hmm. It would involve the Chinese getting in there, and so. Is it possible that the Chinese and the Russians will get along? Apparently, Putin and President Xi have had about 20 or maybe 30 meetings so far. They get together a lot. They hang out together. They're, by the way, huge fans of the NBA, both of them. They love the NBA. And that's why no matter what LeBron James says or somebody makes an offensive comment about human rights in China, President Xi will not get rid of the NBA or ban it, because Putin likes it too. And then they get together. They don't want to have to try to hack a satellite feed to watch the games.
Although they would do that.
They would if they needed to.
If they needed to do something like that.
Anyway, so at this moment, as we speak, our president is moving some more non-fighting. I love this. I mean, you just feel the gears in your head going, shit, this is the same pattern every time. We talk every time, oh, these aren't going to be fighting troops. And then somebody lobs a missile and 100 of our men get killed in a barracks. And next thing you know, we have to defend ourselves. And
it's on.
And it's on. And Joe Biden's a warmonger. No, he's not. But geez.
Well, do you think, by the way, do you think this hurts Tucker Carlson's chances of being the Republican nominee in 2024? As he continues to side in any way he possibly can with Vladimir Putin.
No comment. It's too
That's
stupid
the most
to talk
hilarious thing to me. Is like, I mean, there's got to be some executives up there that are having some dyspeptic moments over Tucker Carlson professing his love for Putin and how the Ukrainians are to blame for this and all this horse shit. By the way, I do want to throw this one in. Speaking of unpopular people, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, goes to Ukraine. He's staying shoulder to shoulder with Kiev. I don't want you to think that Boris Johnson is over there because he's less popular than dysentery right now in the United Kingdom. I don't want you to think that he's trying to, to change the conversation.
For once,
yeah.
And this is always a taunt by opponents of somebody who's in trouble over something. They're just doing this to take your mind off of this.
That's true.
Okay. Right. I mean, everything that's going on with the January 6th commission is characterized by the right and Fox and the usual. They're only doing this to take your mind off of Biden's bad policies, off of his failed immigration policies at the border. This nobody's talking about inflation because you're talking about what Joe Biden. Okay. In this case, though, it's 100% true. He's leaving Britain to go over to Ukraine because in January, the only place probably more grim and gray than the United Kingdom when everyone is telling you to resign is Ukraine, which is on the verge of being overrun by Russian troops.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a better place to go than where Johnson was at. So and of course the answer always is no, this doesn't take anybody's mind off the original problem. In fact, we talk about problem X even more. Don't worry, we can walk and fart at the same time. Farting and chewing gum, the same thing. Same thing.
They're super pissed about him about these parties. I mean, the parties that he threw on Downing Street, when he lied about, and they are just whipping the shit out of him. He's so close to a vote of no confidence it ain't even funny.
Right. Well, okay, and it could happen, and things like that. That's going to happen. He was an idiot. I want to relate it to the fake outrage, the complete fake outrage over Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm going to get really technical here. When you take a picture, a still picture of someone, it is of a brief, isolated moment. It is not representative of maybe even the 1 second after the picture is taken, or the 1 second before the picture is taken, or the 10 hours after, or the 10 hours. Something could happen that you have a picture of. So they've got a picture of Gavin Newsom at the football game over the weekend in LA with his mask off. And that's turned into the equivalent of Boris Johnson throwing party after party after party in the middle of the entire country being locked down last year. And if they want Boris Johnson to resign, my God, Gavin Newsom, you ate at the fucking French Laundry last year. We caught you on that, and you still are a hypocrite. You still don't. And of course, his excuse, if you have to call it that, says, look, I was fucking eating. I took my mask off for a second. You got one picture of me with my mask off. Fuck you. You can't say that, but I'll say it for him.
But Gavin Newsom, he survived his vote of no confidence. He survived the recall election, and he did it in...
I know, but you know what? This is proof that he shouldn't have. If we would have known that he would go to a football game 6 months later and take off his mask to eat a hot dog, then I would have voted to get him out and get Larry Elder in as the governor of California. Oh my God. So this is the problem. This is the problem that you get into with all of these things.
Are you following some of these great stories out of LA as they prepare for the Super Bowl in this brand new opulent $4 or $5 billion stadium that Stan Kroenke built? The great story is that they've got all of these homeless encampments that are nearby the stadium. So they're moving those people out because that's going to be an eyesore. That's going to be an eyesore to people visiting the city of Los Angeles for the Super Bowl. So they're people out of there.
I don't know. The eyesore for the league right now is not that. It's the lawsuit by Brian Flores against the league, saying that he was given sham fake interviews by the New York Giants, who had already decided who they wanted as their coach, but because of the Rooney Rule, of course, named after Andy Rooney, famous
Rooney.
CBS.
He
Yes,
was.
named after Art Rooney.
You ever notice there's no black coaches in the NFL? That's what that was one of his great comments.
Of course, it's actually Art Rooney, the late owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's a guy.
That you have to interview several black candidates for every opening in the NFL. So now, just fired coach by the Miami Dolphins, Mr. Flores, is saying that it's still a plantation, it's still a white man's club, and he was given no opportunity to seriously interview.
Well, additionally, there was a smear campaign after the Dolphins fired him and didn't bring up any of the. For example, he didn't have good interpersonal relationships among the staff, which was never brought up during his tenure in Miami. I mean, there was just an entire ugliness in an attempt to smear him. The Bill Belichick coaching tree, what is very intellectually lazy is that you just say that those people, because of the cold, stoic nature of Bill Belichick, the people that come from that tree, they can't develop warm interpersonal relationships, as you know, that are the important hallmark of any NFL Hall of Fame coach. So that gets thrown at all of them, including the brand new hire for the Las Vegas Raiders, Josh McDaniels. He's had to go through that before in his previous tenure with Denver. And when those guys don't do well, that's what you always kind of reach into your pocket as an excuse. But I'm curious to see how far this Brian Flores thing is going to go. I think you're right. I think the league is probably fairly nervous about this because they immediately issued a statement saying it was meritless, which means it's probably got some merit to it.
Well, because you know what? I'll tell you what, at least the NFL is, I don't care what they say, at least they're honest. They know that the teams are always going to just hire the most qualified person, as opposed to the United States Supreme Court and Joseph Robinette Biden, who is just a racist. He's just a damn racist.
Boom.
God.
That'll do it for us today. That was a pretty good little session, guys. Back to finish up the week on Thursday.
And by the way, our homework assignment. Yes. Let's find out what the justifications are, what the reasoning is about Dolly Parton being up for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And it can't be because she had a #1 hit with Kenny Rogers, Islands in the Stream, which was #1 on the pop charts. I don't think that buys it for you. And she's written a million songs. She should be in as a songwriter, probably not as a rock and roll performer, right? Isn't that fair?
Who wrote and produced Islands in the Stream? It's the Bee Gees, and the Bee Gees are in, so therefore, by association, she gets in. Boom, I've already figured it out. 6 degrees of separation.
Makes as much sense as anything.